This is my last talk. Tomorrow morning, very early, I head for home. All of this started out, it started out with a telephone call from somebody in Denver wanting to interview me. So it turned out to be a 100-minute interview. And then afterwards, she called back about a week later and she said, "Is it possible you could come out?" And I said, "Well, I've told you everything I know in the interview." But I ended up coming to Denver, and then I was asked to go to San Francisco, and then Adele called me and said, "Can you come to Los Angeles?" And I said, "Well, Adele, I really hadn't planned on using all of my vacation up this early in the year." So I said, "Let me think about it." And is that part of the set?
This is Hollywood, man.
So I said, "Let me think about it." She said, "Well, I'll call you in the middle of the week." Well, she didn't call, and I said, "Oh, good, I don't have to go to Los Angeles." But I want you to know that it is a pleasure for me to be here simply because it's a lot of work, because I really have to try and focus on Baba. But I always, and that does involve a lot of worry for me. To go such a long distance and justify people listening to something that I have to say. In my judgment, I want to say something that is worthwhile listening to, and that it has to be worthwhile to me. I have to, from my own experience, know that the most important thing in creation is what I'm beginning to experience, and I want to share that. So that is work from that point of view. But I must say that when I go through all of that, because of the effort necessary for me to try to eliminate everything else, the ego and all those other things, and try to bring into focus what I completely am convinced is the most important thing in life, it does involve the effort that does result in my benefiting myself. So, what I want to present tonight are my thoughts that I have written down, and it had to do with the commemoration of Baba's birthday. And so I'll share that with you. Today is the 101st anniversary of God's most recent appearance on earth in the human form of Meher Baba. What is the purpose of this gathering? This was to be delivered on Baba's birthday. What is the purpose of this gathering? And what is the meaning behind our coming together? What is the hope of each one of us when we come together on such a significant anniversary as the birthday of God in human form? What does it mean to be a person who believes Meher Baba when he says, "I am God, I am the Ancient One"? What is not only possible, but very possible for each one of us that can begin to become a reality today, now? The very real possibility is that we can now make up our minds, each one of us, to truly begin to eliminate the 99% of suffering that Meher Baba says is unnecessary, and experience only the 1% of suffering that is necessary for God. What does it mean to be devoted to the person who is God? Let us find out together about the tremendous, unspeakable treasure we already possess, but have only begun to unveil in each of our consciousnesses, in each of our daily lives. This unspeakable treasure is the greatest of all gifts that it is possible to receive. The gift of conviction that God exists and that He is closer to each one of us than our very breath. And the ability of each one of us to understand through each one's effort that there exists nothing in all of creation more important to each one of us, to every one of us, than to do that which will bring about in the shortest time each one's 100% conviction that nothing exists in all creation that is more important than this 100% conviction. Meher Baba, Almighty God in human form, has given each one this gift of conviction, who is able to receive this gift of gifts. Each one of us has come a very long way, experiencing endless human lifetimes that were necessary in order to understand what truth is not, what happiness is not, what love is not. All of our experiences have brought us to the turning point in our long spiritual journey. We are now able to understand the final lesson from our countless human lifetimes. Creation came into existence to make us know what God is not. This now is the understanding that God in human form and God in the beyond state has bestowed on each one of us through His grace the priceless gift of conviction. Conviction is not an ordinary thing. Not when it refers to one believing Meher Baba when he declares, "I am God." This gift is given immediately by the God-man when the individual finally arrives at that point in his or her spiritual journey where it will germinate and where it will bear fruit. Once given, it becomes the means that will enable the individual to embark on the direct path to the goal of all creation, the realization of God, the eternal experience of infinite bliss. How does this gift of gifts enable one to unfold the treasure within? Why is it that although I have experienced this conviction that Meher Baba is who he declares himself to be, God in human form, my life remains an endless experience of endless frustrations, problems, and difficulties? It is because each of us has made frustrations, problems, and difficulties necessary in order to bring ourselves to the realization of the only way out. The only way out is to know beyond any further delay that we must turn away once and for all from the endless lure of illusion. And this requires our determination and effort to do that which Meher Baba has revealed we must do, and that which his gift of conviction enables us to do. We, each of us, must put him first. Each of us will come to know through our own effort more and more the joy of what it is that the gift of conviction from Meher Baba has made us able to do. To begin that magnificent journey within and to discover that which has always awaited our discovery. And like the most evanescent wisp of an exquisite fragrance, we each increase our effort to remember and follow its scent. And the joy of our inner search finds us less and less alone, and more consciously in the presence of our beloved friend, beloved master, beloved God-man, Meher Baba. This will become for each one of us, each beneficiary of Meher Baba's gift of conviction, to clasp within our hearts and minds this powerful help. Powerful when we strive to our utmost to remember the real significance of Meher Baba's gift of conviction. With Meher Baba, your spiritual journey is slow. Without him, your spiritual journey is impossible. Comprehending this vital truth, the indispensable role of the God-man as revealed by Meher Baba, awakens each of us to the continuing thrill that slow with him becomes now. And what is slow with him? It is to remember Baba, say Baba's name, and surrender to Baba's will. We already have conviction. Remembering Baba, saying Baba's name, and surrendering to Baba's will puts our conviction to work and makes it stronger. A stronger conviction brings about a greater continuous effort to put Baba first. This is the only way to unveil the treasure of Meher Baba within. It cannot be boring, as it is the only means of revealing the poverty and the bankruptcy of that source which alone is the endless nightmare of the vulnerable, separative, and loveless life, the ego. Everything that happens is Meher Baba's will. Do we believe him when he tells us this? He has told us that he is God and that nothing exists outside of God. Nothing. What is important to understand? What is important to understand from this for our own salvation from the 99% of our unnecessary suffering? It is this. Everything that happens is God's will, Meher Baba's will. How we respond to everything that happens is our will. In one very important sense, creation is perfect because it will not fail to bring everyone to God. Godhood is our destiny, and we cannot fail to achieve that for which creation came into existence, to enable each individual to finally understand what God is not. It is the will of God revealed to us through his manifestation on earth in the divine form of Avatar Meher Baba, that everyone is destined for the supreme goal. Because we have received through Meher Baba's grace the conviction that he is God in human form, we have entered the direct ascent to the goal of life. Everything I have just read to you was written with the feeling of complete conviction, yet I, like each one of you, must do the work in my own way to eliminate all of my suffering in my daily life, except for that 1% that Meher Baba reveals is all that is necessary for God. And what is this work? The work is to put Baba first. What does this mean? It means to do that which alone is the most important thing, most important accomplishment in all of creation. To find the way to put Baba first more and more, and more and more, and still yet more, until we are able to love Meher Baba. How do we do this in the midst of our conscious and relentless vulnerability to the pressures we experience constantly? We must trust Meher Baba completely. We want to trust him because we have the conviction that he is who he declares himself to be. We must now do the work of first appreciating the enormous significance of what it means to have the real conviction, enormous significance of what it is to have the real conviction, given us by the God-man himself, that God alone exists. If we are weak in our conviction, we are still, nevertheless, able with effort to act upon and strengthen this conviction. What will help us to resolve to make this effort is to remember it is the only way out of all problems and difficulties. That is the absolute truth. It is the only way out of all problems and difficulties. All problems and difficulties come from illusion. We have already experienced 8 million, my opinion, 400,000 human lifetimes, trying in endless ways to find lasting happiness in illusion. We are now capable of knowing this to the extent that we can experience more and more the real joy within that comes from putting Baba first. Do we want to eliminate 99% of suffering, not only during this lifetime, but for all remaining lifetimes? Of course we do. Then I will tell you what I understand from my own continuous struggle to hold fast to Meher Baba's Dharman by putting him first. Take every moment of every day to think of Baba with love, surrender to Baba's will, and obey Baba 100%. When you think of Meher Baba, all other thoughts will dissolve. Do it. Persist in trying to do it. Keep trying to remember what is totally the truth. There is no other way. When we persist in our effort, regardless of the times we fail, and renew our effort, take heart by remembering how fortunate we are. Each one of us, indeed, is one of the very few who has been given the key to unlock the imprisonment of our consciousness from the prison of infinite illusion. I feel Meher Baba saying, just think of me, and all other thoughts will dissolve. It is so simple, no one believes it. Our work is to believe Baba and do our best. When we believe Baba, worries subside. When we surrender to Baba, worries cease to control our thoughts. When we obey Baba, we are making our life itself Baba's message of love and truth to others. How can we believe Baba and do our best? There is only one way, and that is so simple, no one believes it. We must remember Baba with love. We must say his name. We must surrender to his will. Now bear in mind, it's very important to understand that this simplistic sounding formula is not simple. It is profound. Why? You don't have to study Baba. You already have the gift of conviction. That's a remarkable thing. That simply means you've come the longest part of your journey. You have succeeded in lifetime after lifetime of experiencing degrees of disillusionment that enable consciousness to be freed slightly from the grip of the mind, the repository of all impressions resulting from a duality. I am this body, and creation is that object, and all the interaction, and trying every kind of a lifetime, experiencing every conceivable kind of life, sometimes succeeding, sometimes failing, mostly failing. But even when succeeding, disillusioned about what you expected that it would bring you and couldn't. So the point I'm making is we have to understand the enormity of the significance that we have the belief that this man who says he is God, who in fact is, we believe. We could not do that on our own. Baba has confirmed that. He gives that gift to anyone who has arrived at the point where that gift will bear fruit. There isn't any question. So it's not a question, as someone put it last night, of elitism. If I seem to sound that way, that is not at all what I'm talking about. If you have come all this distance where the gift of conviction will bear fruit simply because you had so many lifetimes, the details of which you don't remember, but the wisdom of which is your capital, Baba gives you that. He doesn't give it to the other person. It will not bear fruit yet. There's an old story that's somehow a metaphor for this. Ramakrishna talked about Mother, the God in the kitchen, doing all of the things that she has to do. The baby's playing on the floor, and she's going about her duties, and the baby's playing with the toys. And when that baby gets tired and starts to cry, she stops God, stops what she is doing, and picks the baby up. That is precisely the point. If the gift of conviction would be fruitful to this person who has not experienced those many lifetimes, that makes him or her understand there's got to be something better. Baba would give that gift of conviction. He waits for the person to have the experience that causes the individual to say, even if I achieve this or the other thing, I know that's not going to satisfy me. That's the point. We have that already. But if we don't do the work every single day of trying, that's Baba said, I've always meant try. You have to try to replace every thought with a thought of Baba. Now that takes effort. But if you do it for a period of time, the experience that you will have in feeling relief when you have these thoughts, and then you immediately make the effort, when you don't feel like making the effort, to think about Baba or look at his picture or whatever, but to bring Baba into your front mind, you will then begin to experience relief. And that relief teaches you, this is the right thing for me to do. And you will then be encouraged to persist in what seems to be something without result. You already have conviction. You already have conviction. You already have conviction. You can't say that enough times, because that conviction is the key. How do we try to think of Baba with love? First, forget self and do not think. You already have the gift of gifts, conviction. The meaning of having this gift of gifts, conviction, is that you and I, regardless of our weaknesses and regardless of the insurmountable difficulty of gross consciousness, believe what Meher Baba has declared and believe what is not believed by the greatest majority of individuals, at least not yet. You and I believe in the real God. Not the God of our imagination, not the God of orthodox thinking, not the God of the subconscious mind, able to satisfy our transient, illusory desires and wants, but the one and only God of all, who incarnates on earth from time to time when it again becomes necessary to awaken humanity to the felt reality of its true and glorious destiny of infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss. Its true and glorious destiny of Godhood. Meher Baba has said, this is no game for the faint-hearted and the weak. Such a characterization can never include those on whom has been bestowed his grace of conviction. We, therefore, have no choice. We must struggle to put him before every thought, before every word, and before every deed. We must, and we shall, develop this new habit which alone can unfold his reality within each one of us. It is Meher Baba's will that this cannot fail to happen in time. It is Meher Baba's wish that with our constant effort and his unfailing help, it will happen now. It is Meher Baba's work through us and for us that we unveil his reality, that alone is the priceless treasure within each of us, by means of our ceaseless effort every moment of every day to remember him, say his name, and surrender to his will. This is our real work. This is the work that will result in our being able to focus on Meher Baba's reality more and more. And as we focus on Baba's reality more and more, the effort required will become less and less, and then finally become effortless. When we ourselves experience the awakening within of Meher Baba's reality through our continued effort to put him first, there can be no explanation, no matter how compelling it may seem, concerning the value of conviction, that can ever equal that which our own experience of Meher Baba's reality has revealed. From the beginning of his most recent avataric advent, as God in human form, can only be found within, and of the greatest importance to us and to posterity, he has revealed to us the easiest of ways to quiet the mind and focus on his reality. What are the words that can help us to accomplish the seemingly impossible achievement of making the mind quiet in spite of endless frustrations, disappointments, difficulties, and worries? in order that the reality of Meher Baba can be focused on. First, forget self and do not think. Thinking is tied to the intellect. Feelings are tied to the emotions. So we must empty the mind of thoughts and emotions. Picture Baba without thoughts and emotions. Do not wait to experience Baba's reality. Only continue to picture Baba and expect nothing. Let Baba do his work through you without any reaction from you. Be a clear channel for Baba's work. This is real love for Baba. There is only one way. Each of us must put our complete focus on Baba. The strength or weakness of our conviction will be overshadowed by our individual clear focus on Baba's reality. Every fiber of our being, this is the work. It is of secondary importance to build anything, to have a building, to go here, to go to Meherabad, to go to Myrtle Beach, or to go to Timbuktu, or to go to the Himalayas. You've already got it. You must discover it in everyday life, every moment. That treasure is waiting. The Prince of creation is sitting in your heart. Don't go into the marketplace and be dazzled and compelled and driven by the excitement and the sights. That's our work. Every fiber of our being must be focused on Baba's reality. When this happens, then obedience comes and brings with it complete surrender to Baba's will. This means that in order to please Baba, one must focus completely on Baba's reality so that one can obey Baba. And when one can obey Baba, one is able to surrender to Baba, completely to Baba's will. Does this mean we should try to focus on Baba's reality to the extent that a negative thought does not hold our consciousness so strongly? No. One must keep focusing on Baba. That is what enables one to resist negative thoughts and negative actions. So, the work for each one of us is to do his or her best to keep focusing on Baba's reality. Because we have conviction, that's all that's necessary. Because when you focus on Baba, you're remembering what you already know that has value because you've been given that gift. But if you don't do it, you're carrying this treasure around and you're unaware of it. You're distracted, you're transfixed by things that have no value at all. But the mind always is preoccupied with all that out there that absolutely has no lasting value. Because that reaction of ours is the result of a long habit that was the result of the journey of the soul. Forget evolution. The journey of the soul throughout the 8,400,000 lifetimes. And Baba says, you have conviction now. You have sufficiently experienced what God is not to really seriously say to yourself, what is life for? What really has meaning? What is it that I can experience that makes everything that happens out there all right? You have come to that place where you are capable of asking that question. You are serious now. You're a seeker. That's why repeating Baba's name. The conviction is there. You don't have to analyze. You don't have to understand. Because you do understand. You understand sufficiently what has been taught to you by your endless numbers of lifetimes in illusion experiencing everything, so that consciousness could be freed up a bit, so that when these incredible words are said to you, or this incredible appearance of the total manifestation of reality in the form of a human being, you have now seen, because you have eyes to see, you have ears to hear. But you have to remember now what you know. You can't go here and there and talk this and that. You must do the work alone. And I promise you, no one will ever have to tell you the value of what you discover with that effort. We are not children in Baba's love. We must take on the work of devoted lovers of Meher Baba, God in human form. We can do it even if we think we cannot. Baba's wish is that we do this with love and good cheer. It cannot be a burden. It cannot be a burden on us or those close to us. On the contrary, we must take on this work with happiness and with faith that Baba wants each one of us to do this work for him and for him alone. There is no one else. There is only Baba. Baba, Meher Baba, is God. Each of us has arrived at that point in our human journey where the greatest good fortune that exists in creation can be stated to be, for each of us, the most critical challenge. If you are not willing to suffer in Baba's love, then give up now. If you are not willing to stop worrying, then give up now. If you are not willing to accept the responsibility of a devoted and most and obedient lover of the God-man, then give up now. If you are not willing to ignore frustration and anger, then give up now. If you cannot see Baba in all, then give up now. But if you are willing to focus on Baba and accept all that happens as Baba's work for you, then take charge of your spiritual responsibility and do your best to obey Baba and surrender to Baba's will. Meher Baba, the Ancient One, Avatar of the age, has declared, I am the only reality. I am the only existence. I am all. Meher Baba has, with divine authority, revealed to us that which, when continuously focused on, will bring increasing joy. And we will experience that he is closer to each one of us than our own breath. That he is with us wherever we are. That he never leaves us. That we are destined to experience that he is our own self. Do not be afraid of life and its constant problems. It is all Baba's illusion. It is all Baba's work. Baba created illusion for the sole purpose of experiencing what God is not. And Baba was the first to experience everything in illusion. And Baba came to know, through his own experience, that he, Baba, was God, and that illusion was not God. So Baba comes again and again to show us we are that same God, and to take us out of illusion by our own conviction that nothing is real except Baba. There is only one reality, but we must know this 100%. Now the trick is not to fight illusion, but to work around illusion. So when Baba tells us, think of me and do your best, Baba means put Baba first and do your best not to create more illusion within illusion. Anger, hatred, and frustration are the ego of illusion. And when we become angry or feel hatred, or allow frustration to make us unhappy, we are feeding the ego of illusion, and we are creating more illusion. The simple answer is to stop. We must do what we can in Baba's love and grace. The only way we can do this is to trust Baba 100%. Baba is God, and God created illusion, and Baba is the key out of illusion. This is all we need to know about God and Baba, who are only one. Through Meher Baba's grace, we have the key to our liberation from the bondage of illusion. Creation has come into existence for a supreme purpose, to enable consciousness to evolve, in order that individually, each fully evolved consciousness in human form can experience infinite bliss forever. To unburden our consciousness from the illusion that gave it birth requires the help of God Himself. God's descent into illusion is in human form as Avatar, Messiah, the Ancient One, and precipitates a new dispensation, the spiritual awakening of the heart. Precipitates a new dispensation, the spiritual awakening of the heart. This awakening through the direct intervention of God on earth can and does awaken in each an awareness that alone is able to bring about that awakening. The awakening of the heart is the only means by which the ego can be exposed for what it is and has always been, the source of our endless suffering throughout our human journey over millions of lifetimes. In thinking about my talk, I realized that the most important thing to talk about was the theme that each of us could use as the most practical means of strengthening our grip on Baba's Dharman while experiencing all the problems and difficulties of our daily lives. In my own life, I have struggled to do this. It has given me hope and optimism, and being based on my conviction that Meher Baba is the sublime and total reality within each of us, my ever-increasing hope and optimism is rooted in his reality, which he definitely unfolds in each of us through our renewed and inspired effort. And in thinking about the importance of our focusing on Baba's reality, I remembered a part of Baba's declaration in 1953 at Dehradun that inspires me every time I read it. It has become known as the highest of the high. These magnificent words of beloved Baba. Baba said, I cannot expect you to understand all at once, but I want you to know it is for me to awaken you from time to time throughout the ages, sowing the seed in your limited minds, which must, in due course, and with proper heed and care, on your part, germinate, flourish, and bear the fruit of that true knowledge which is inherently yours to gain. If, on the other hand, led by your ignorance, you persist in going your own way, no one can stop you in your choice of progress. For that too is progress, which, however slow and painful, eventually, and after innumerable reincarnations, is bound to make you realize that which I want you to know now. To save yourself from further entanglement in the maze of delusion and self-created suffering, which owes its magnitude to the extent of your ignorance, awake now. Pay heed and strive for freedom by experiencing ignorance in its true perspective. Be honest with yourself and God. One may fool the world and one's neighbors, but one can never escape from the knowledge of the omniscient. Such is the divine law. I declare to all of you who approach me, and to those of you who desire to approach me as the highest of the high, that you can never come with a desire in your heart which craves for wealth and worldly gain, but only with the fervent longing to give your all, body, mind, and possessions, with all their attachments. Seek me not to extricate you from your predicaments, but find me to surrender yourself wholeheartedly to my will. Cling to me not for worldly happiness and short-lived comforts, but adhere to me through thick and thin, sacrificing your own happiness and comforts at my feet. Let my happiness be your cheer and my comfort your rest. Do not ask me to bless you with a good job, but desire to serve me more diligently and honestly, without expectations of reward. Never beg of me to save your life or the life of your dear ones, but beg of me to accept you and permit you to lay down your life for me. Never expect me to cure you of your bodily afflictions, but beseech me to cure you of your ignorance. Never stretch out your hand, who is indeed closer than our very breath. How must we think about this? The only solution to all of the, how must we think about this? The only solution to all of the problems of our daily lives. How do we do what is needed to focus on Meher Baba as the only reality, and continue to focus on Meher Baba as the only reality until joy comes? Until joy comes from focusing on him. How are we able to make the effort and continue to make the effort to the extent necessary to unveil the treasure of his reality, which is within each of us, which is within each of us, more and more, so that our focus on him becomes natural and automatic, and we begin to taste the delicate only to our gross consciousness that has only known the gross world and its automatic focus on gross results. The delicate, exquisite nectar of a reality within. A reality we intuitively know to be our own being. How? In order to understand what is required of us every moment, in order to understand what is required of us every moment of every day, let's use our imagination to place ourselves in a familiar setting of what we experience in our daily existence, and then project ourselves into a most dramatic assault on our existence. This happens, that happens, this is a problem, that is a problem, and then more happens, and then there are more problems. When you are walking in a very dense forest, and there is only one very thin trail, and you are locked into this trail because of thick undergrowth, and you notice a very wide tree is falling on this very thin trail, what do? You take Baba's name. There is nothing else you can do. Every single frustration, every single problem is that tree. That is what we have to learn, because in fact it is true. You are kept from the unspeakable treasure that you already possess and have always possessed by thoughts, worries, frustrations, and difficulties. Every single frustration, every single problem is that tree. Now, if you were to call on Baba with the same intensity each time you have a problem, or even a frustration, all your frustrations and problems would be resolved as Baba's will and as Baba's work through you, and for all who come into your orbit, and for you and for all who come into your orbit. There is no other approach, there is no other way, there is only Baba. Yesterday, today, tomorrow, they are all now. In reality, they are one experience, and they are now. Therefore, no experience is past, nor yet to come. It is consciousness that believes they are separate awareness. They are separate. Awareness experiences all at the same time. Complete awareness only experiences God. And until consciousness becomes complete awareness, time seems real. So remember, when Meher Baba tells you, think of me, say my name, surrender to my will, Baba means every moment of every day. When you do this, the past, the present, and the future become one with Baba. And then Baba's work can be done through you, which helps only you. That is your work for Meher Baba. We must do our best to do this as much as possible. Let us, you and me, and all those who would love and obey Meher Baba, do our best to be cheerful while doing this, and let us do our best not to worry. Our work is to make what we truly believe our real experience. Let us resolve from this moment to experience the supreme truth of Meher Baba's words to each and every one of us. I am always with you, and I never leave you. Jai, 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 O Meher Baba. From the deepest longing of our hearts to the sublime reality of your divinity. Jai Baba.